ortasında ne işiniz var sizin?
Abi köyün bütün kızlarını maç için Trabzon'a götüren otobüsü kaçırdık. Lütfen onu yakalamamıza
Deli misiniz,
yardım et.
nesiniz siz? Bana ne kardeşim? Ne yapayım ben şimdi?
Ha, bizi götür.
Hayır, götüremem.
Abi,
Götüremem.
Welcome to Kermode Uncut. There's a new film currently playing in UK cinemas called Mustang, directed by Deniz Gamze Aygovan, and it's a really terrific work. It's a Turkish film about 5 sisters who are effectively imprisoned in their house by their uncle. It was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film, and it was notable for being one of the very few feature films at this year's Oscars that was directed by a woman. As you know, all the Best Director nominations went to men, and when you looked at the films that were nominated, they were pretty much all directed by men. There are some examples such as What Happened, Miss Simone, which was nominated in the documentary category, but generally it was a pretty male field, and this state of affairs has recently been highlighted by a series of reports on gender inequality in filmmaking. Last week, there was a report launched by Calling the Shots from the University of Southampton, which had investigated the role of women in British films. They looked at British films produced here in 2015 and asked how many women were in key roles such as directors, screenwriters, cinematographers, producers. And it turned out the figures were not good. Of the films registered as UK productions in 2015, it turned out that only 20% of them had women in key roles. It turned out that women comprised only 13% of the directors, and that included, incidentally, films which were co-directed, and only 7% of cinematographers working on films produced in Britain in 2015 were women. Now, these findings back up similar results from 2 other recent surveys. Directors UK recently completed research into the number of women directors in the UK. They discovered that British films were 6 times more likely to be directed by a man than a woman. Also, a report in April by the Women's European Audiovisual Network, called significantly Where Are the Women Directors?, found that only 1 in 5 films in the 7 European countries they surveyed was directed by a woman. Now, the Directors UK report blamed an unconscious systemic bias for these figures, and they've called for half of all public film funding to be allocated to films directed by women by 2020. And there is a precedent for this. Turns out the Swedish Film Institute did it, and it's worked. By 2014, their gender figures were balanced, and apparently the effects have proved positive, both in terms of the industry and in terms of audience responses. The question all this raises is, firstly, why is it that we're in such a bad situation? And there are many answers to that question, but more importantly, what do we do about it? Some people resist the idea of quotas, others insist that, frankly, drastic action needs to be taken. What all these surveys demonstrate is that things really are worse than people expected, and that now is the time to do something, although exactly what that something is has yet to be decided. In the meantime, go see Mustang. It is quite simply one of my favourite films of the year so far, and I guarantee that you'll find things in it that you won't see anywhere else in current releases.